Flat tires, fault codes, and now being hacked? These are the hazards of the new age highway. When cybersecurity researchers showed in recent years that they could hack a Chevy Impala or a Jeep Cherokee to disable the vehicle's brakes or hijack their steering, the results were a disturbing wake-up call to the consumer automotive industry. But industrial automakers are still due for a reminder that they, too, are selling vulnerable computer networks on wheels, ones with direct control of 33,000 pounds of high-velocity metal and glass. Hacking and cyber attacks are faceless, strong-arm robberies. Internet pirates can shut down a carrier's entire operation in a matter of minutes from thousands of miles away, but these incidents aren't isolated just to back-office systems. Technology has granted sophisticated attackers a means into the truck itself. All the new technology and connectivity within vehicles like tractor-trailers not only makes vehicles smarter and improves efficiency, but it's also a new attack vector for cyber criminals. And while it sounds something like out of the Fast and Furious, the capabilities exist for cyber attackers to hijack a rig while it's rolling down the road with the driver inside. A truck could have satellite terminals, cellular modems, telematics, and ELD amongst other devices, so there's several different possible attack vectors. Even in some modern trucks, there are upwards of 7 or 8 different wireless devices with connectivity to the vehicle itself. But there's other attack vectors against trucks. The National Motor Freight Trucking Association, or NMFTA, released information on a vulnerability that would allow anybody with a small, software-defined radio and an antenna to send the right radio frequency signal at a truck. It would put diagnostic messages on the trailer network and lock the brakes of the trailer. The price of this weapon? Less than $50. By sending digital signals within the internal network of a big rig truck, hackers are able to do everything from change the readout of the truck's instrument panel, trigger unintended acceleration, or even disable brakes. And researchers found that developing those attacks was actually easier than with consumer cars, thanks to a common communication standard in the internal networks of most industrial vehicles, from cement mixers to tractor-trailers to school buses. Heavy-duty vehicles and Class 8 trucks are very similar in nature, architecture, and design to tractors and combines. They're all smart connected vehicles. They all run some form of CAN bus, most commonly the J1939. Hacking a truck began as a University of Michigan class assignment. It only took 2 months. That's the most troubling part. How simple these hacks were to figure out and pull off. For a semi-truck, that J1939 standard allows hackers to send commands that precisely change the readouts of practically any part of the instrument panel. They could, for instance, spoof a full tank of gas when the truck was running out of fuel, or prevent an alert that the truck was about to run out of compressed air in its air brakes, leading to the vehicle instead applying its emergency brake without warning. At 30 miles per hour or less, they could fully disable the truck's engine brake, forcing the driver to rely on another form of brakes known as foundation brakes that can overheat and fail. Most disturbingly, hackers could speed up the truck against the driver's will by sending signals imitating the vehicle's powertrain commands to limit the truck's acceleration or max out its RPMs in any gear, possibly destroying the engine. This leaves the majority of semi-trailers vulnerable. On American roads, the average truck is around 12 years old. But the NMFTA is taking the researchers' work seriously and even funding future research from the same team. And they acknowledge that the possibility of the nightmare scenario of a remote attack on heavy vehicles is very real. Beyond individual truck and bus manufacturers, it's the Society of Automotive Engineers, the standards body that controls the Canvas J1939 standard, that's at least partly responsible for the vulnerability of the trucks and buses that use that standard. But heavy-duty automakers need to focus on not just the safety of their vehicles from collisions and driver errors, but also on defending against the possibility of an active digital attack on a truck's systems. Researchers have suggested that truck makers better segregate components of their vehicles' networks, or build authentication measures into the network so that one compromised component can't send messages impersonating another one. It's imperative that the trucking industry begins to take software security more seriously. With more time, hackers could create even more sophisticated attacks. And without that security, how do we keep our trucks and our drivers safe?